Having just preached on this fairly same passage not more than about a week or two ago, one has to then dig a little deeper to see what it is that one can uncover after having preached so recently on this passage. And I decided I would try something different. I wanted to start with the last sentence and kind of work my way backwards and see if anything jumped out. And indeed, this very last sentence, when it's printed up, not in kind of paragraph form, but in actual scripture form, it stands by itself as its own little paragraph. And Jesus ran and hid from them. It would seem then to those who were there that day, in the crowd, that the light was running from them, or that perhaps the light had been extinguished, or would be soon. That perhaps even the ruler of this world was not fully cast out. And Jesus says these things and he goes and hides. And from the crowd's point of view, with Jesus' talk of light and darkness, this must have seemed like the darkness had overtaken him. And then to see him lifted up on the cross to suffer and die must have seemed like an assurance that the evil one, the darkness, had indeed won. This passage foreshadows for us the upcoming days, the next several days of Holy Week. And what it says to us is the next several days are going to be hard. They will be difficult for us to understand, like it was for the disciples to understand what was going on. Certainly like it was for the crowd to know what was going on. They hear this booming voice from God, and they have no idea what that voice is talking about. Who is it talking about? What are they to make of this? And I don't blame them. Even after Jesus clears it up for them, they still remain confused as to what is going on, what will happen. Witness in a couple of verses, in a couple of chapters even, we will say the words, crucify him, crucify him. The light will be with you a little longer. Believe in the light. These are Jesus' last public words spoken to the wider audience. Everything from that point on becomes conversation either with individuals or with his disciples or with Pilate behind closed doors. This is his last public statement to the world in John's Gospel. The light will be with you a little longer. Believe in the light. It reinforces what John's original point about Jesus was. You can't even get three full verses into John's Gospel without the following. What has come into being in him was life, and the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. As Jesus hangs on the cross, it was hard to be believed that the darkness had not overcome that light. So while you have the light, believe in the light, so that you may become the children of light. In short, Jesus is saying very simply, the time has come for you to decide between the side of light and the side of darkness. Now, we know how this story ends. So it's easy for us to know the difference between the light and the dark. We know that the darkness will not overcome it, that John's words are true from the very start of the gospel. But knowing that does not get us off the hook. In fact, knowing that makes it even more poignant and more pointed a question in the first place. You know better. Who do you choose? Do you choose light or do you choose darkness? Let's back this up a little bit more macro, shall we? Here's a better question. Why should we continue to walk in the darkness when the light is available to us? Especially when we know that that light will shine forever. Why should we continue to walk in the darkness when we know that there is the light? And that light will give us everlasting light. That light will give us life for eternity. Why do we walk in the darkness? It seems to me that we can walk in the light and also in the darkness. It seems to me when I look at my own life, there have been moments when I have certainly been in pitch black or run into a wall, wouldn't have even seen it coming, darkness. And moments when it's been so light I could hardly discern what was in front of me. That's how it works with belief. It ebbs and it flows. Some days we will be in the darkness, and other days we will almost be blinded by the light. Reminds me of that 1980s song that said, "The future is so bright, I've got to wear shades." Now, Jesus is not talking about points of doctrine when he's talking about belief. He's not talking about, do you get a stumbling block about the virgin birth? He's not talking about, do you really believe that he died and took everybody from Herod, hell, and brought all the souls from the previous people that had died up into heaven? He's not talking about that. He's talking about our soul's very actions. He is bringing this into intimate relationship with us, which is what he wanted to do, and what he tried to do his entire ministry on earth, was to be an intimate relationship. God wanted to be an intimate relationship with us, so God became us and came down to know us, to know what it was like to be us, to know what it was like to walk in the light, and certainly to know what it was like to feel the darkness closing in. Jesus is talking about our soul's very actions, the forces that we let influence us, we are guided by, and that sometimes seem inescapable for us. In thinking about this darkness, there is a dynamism in these words. The darkness doesn't just sort of appear, it will even overtake you. There is a predatory nature of it, going out and getting you and overcoming you. You ever seen a seawall in a major storm and the waves beat against it, and no matter, the wall is standing there, but the water's pouring over? Sometimes, despite our best efforts, we may be that seawall. That water will still come over. That darkness will still overtake us. Darkness can overcome you. It can engulf you. And it can send you reeling. Indeed, the darkness can obliterate your sense of direction, your sense of purpose, even your very sense of self. I told you it's going to get hard. And my brothers and sisters, we are supposed to struggle with this over Holy Week. These are the things we're supposed to sit in for a while and take time to discern in our lives about our belief, about us. We need to sit with this tonight, and we need to hold it with us. As this is a part of the very difficult nature that is Holy Week, but also that the old saying that you can only see the light when you're in the darkness is also true. How I know that is that there is darkness in each of us, and there is light in each of us. We know how this story ends, and yet we still at moments choose darkness over walking in the light with Jesus. We know that this light is Christ. But what is this darkness in our lives? What is this darkness that has its grasp on each of us? The answer for each of us will be different. It always is. My questions to us tonight are, what power does the darkness that is your darkness have over you? Why do you let that darkness perpetuate and continue in your life? And what will we do? What will we need to change? What will we need to let go of inside of us, to let go of that darkness that sometimes robs us of the very person and self that we are? Because remember, we are beloved children of God. All of us. We are the children of light. So what is that darkness that overtakes us? And why do we allow it to do so? And finally, what do we learn about ourselves when we think about that, and our dependency on Jesus when we find ourselves overtaken by that darkness. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.